Alright, in this video we are going to create a plugin that will show the author's information. So this is a post, and once I activate my plugin, which is activated, and you'll see a button. It will show the text, show author details. Consider this as a long post. I've just used logarithm from text, and if I click on this button, what you'll see is the information about the author. Now let me just log in with some other username and create a post and show you. Now I'm logged in as UI Monk, you can see over here, and if I create a post, the lorem ipsum text, and here paragraph, and just giving a title, random title to the blog post. Now you will see, once I visit post, you should see the show author details. Now previously it was admin, now it's UI Monk. It says UI Monk and uimonk@gmail.com. Let me just show you how I created this plugin. So along with this plugin, here we have used our custom CSS, and I have imported Bootstrap CSS as well, and I'll show you how to load the CSS sequentially. So in this case we want to load our Bootstrap first and then our custom CSS, and I have used JavaScript as well, a simple JavaScript for this show and hide button. So without wasting time, let's get into it. So this is the plugin setup. Let's create a new plugin. So what you have to do is you have to get into your website. So this is my website which I have set up in locally with XAMPP, and you have to get into your plugin folder, and as you know, it's inside WP content and plugin. Let's just create a new folder, and show author is our folder name. It's recommended to have the file name inside the folder name same as the folder name, show hyphen author, sorry, it's the PHP file, new file, show hyphen author dot php. Now as I said, we would be adding our custom CSS and a custom JS file. So for that we have two folders. Again, for the JS I'm just going to name it as main.js, and for CSS it's style.css. So the very first thing what we need to do is we need to have our plugin information. So for the plugin information, it's just a boilerplate code. You have to name your plugin, and you have to specify the author, and this is the version, and by this plugin, by this comment, you could see your plugin in the dashboard, plugins dashboard. As I refresh the page, you should see show author is visible. So this description is coming from the comment over here, and the version and the author is also coming from the comment which we have specified in the PHP file. Now the very first thing what we need to do is let's just call our Bootstrap and JS and our custom JS. So for that what we need to do is we need to add an action. So add action is nothing but when the WordPress is ready to load all the CSS and JavaScript of the website, at the same time include this particular plugins JS and CSS. So that's what we are specifying when the action happens. What is the action? The action here is wp underscore enqueue script. When this happens, execute this function. So this function we can just give a name, load my assets. So it's a function. Let's just create a function. So over in this function we'll call our JS and CSS. So again, WordPress has a default function wp underscore enqueue. When it's CSS, it's just style. So you should see it's enqueue script and enqueue style, and for JS we have enqueue script. So this is scripts. I'm sorry, this action is script and the rest is singular. Now what we need to give an handle. So here the handle name is bootstrap hyphen CSS, and then we need to give our CDN for the votes. So without wasting time, I'm just copy pasting the CDN, and that's it. And along with this, you can also give some more options like the version number and the dependency. So I'll show you the dependency we'll cover in this tutorial right now, and version number also. So why we are giving this handle? We are giving this handle just to know the WordPress that this CSS file. Let's just call a CSS file right now, or custom CSS file. We can call our custom CSS file giving the handle custom hyphen CSS. This is a handle name that you have to give, and then you can link your CSS file. This is how we would be linking: plugin underscore directory underscore URL, and this is the PHP constant, which will give your current directory name. Since we get our current directory name, we need to append it with the folder name, and the file name is style.css. That's it. Now this CSS file is dependent on the above bootstrap. So how we would be saying it to the WordPress is by calling the handle name. We have called the handle name, and if you want to display version, we are not going to display version. Sorry, this is again style. Now for the script, it's again the same thing. You can give custom JS handle, and the file name is JS, which is main.js, and then we do this is not depend on anything, and we are we need to give a version. Let's say we don't want to give a version, we are making it false. We want this to be loaded on the footer, so we would be saying true. Yes, load it on the footer. Now why we are giving version? So when you might have seen in the WordPress, and if you get into the CSS, you will find some version. So this is the version. You see, if you want to give your version, you can give the version here. This is for the caching purpose. In case WordPress has cached your CSS, and you want your CSS to be let's suppose your plugin is cached by a WordPress or some plugin, and you have updated your code, but that code won't be reflected because the WordPress has already cached your CSS and JS. So to break that, we would be giving the version. Previously, let's say previously we have given 6.8.1, and after updating your CSS and JS, you need to give your version as 6.8.2. So uh, this is why we give version, and I have not given version over here. We can use false as well. Now your CSS is good to go. Your CSS and JS will be loaded. Now what we need to do is we need to display our author details. So how do we get our author details? So first thing, we need to modify the content. So if you see, this whole content is coming from database, and what I want is, along with these content, I want to append these two. So here we are modifying the custom WordPress feature. So whenever we are going to modify the custom feature, we will be using add underscore filter, and the thing that we are going to modify is the content of the post. And what should happen? The function name show author data. This is the function name. So let us define the function. Now we have the access of the content. We have the access of the content right now. Now you see, we have the access. Now what we need to do is we need to check if it is the single post or not. It's We need to check whether it is going to be the post post page or not. For that is underscore single. If it is the post page, then we again need to check, is this in the loop, is in loop. And again, if it is in loop, then we need to check again, is underscore main underscore query. I'll explain you what it is. So the first thing is, we are going to check whether it is post or not. And the second thing is whether it's loop or not. Loop, as you see, in WordPress, to display some function, to display some values, we have two set of options that we will be getting. One is, with the help of loop you can display the multiple value, and the second one is to display one value like has post, and you'll be just getting the content, not the multiple content. So I'm saying, if it is in the loop, and the third condition is main query, is main query is nothing but it's WordPress default query system. Whenever, let's say we have a website, domain.com, and then we have a category, and then let's say the category name. So when I enter it, you will see an archive page, and that, to execute this code, WordPress usually executes the query, and that type of query is called main query. And as I said, this is when this is going to be you'll get this page only when you hit this URL. When you hit this URL, there is a query that will be happening internally for this post ID 20, and this type of query is called main query. And the other type of query is WP query, which we manually query the database with the help of the global variable. So this is not the query, so this is not the place for the WP query. And since we have the conditions set, now we have an access to the global variable called post. With this post, what we have is, we have access to this whole WP underscore post table. We can access anything in the column with the help of WP post. So we just need one thing, which is the post author. So let's just access it with this post. Let's access post underscore author, and with this post author we can get our author ID. Now with this author ID, now let's say 1, with this let's say this is the post author 1 and this is post author 0, and these corresponding values that you can find it in the WP user, and this is the ID. And as I said, with the post variable you have access to all the post, and now you can see this is one post author 1, post author 2, and this ID represent the WP user, and you see the 1 is admin, the 2 is UI monk. Now what we need to do is, we need to access the author name. As I said, with this ID, which is from the WP post, the corresponding ID, you can see post author 1 and 2, the corresponding author data can be retrieved from the WP user. So to get that, what we do is, we have another function which is get underscore the underscore author underscore meta. And what we need an email. So for the email you can use user underscore email. How do I know it? You can see it's user email. I'm fetching this data with the ID which I got. For the current content, you will get the author ID, and the author ID will respond to a username, and just store it into a variable. So it's email. The same way, it's display underscore name, where you will get your name of the author. That's it. Now what we need to do is we need to display the HTML as we covered yesterday, which is we would be using ov underscore start. So this is the function that will allow us to write HTML inside this PHP code. So what we'll do is whatever you write inside these area, that will be stored as a temporary memory, and that's why we are saying that OV is nothing but output buffer. And this is the PHP function. We are saying that whatever you write in the HTML, store it in this output buffer and display it. How we are going to display it? We will be displaying it with the help of a function called ov underscore get underscore clean. Since it's a memory, so we are cleaning the memory and we are going to store it into the content, into this content. So this content is nothing but the content over here. We're going to append our this HTML to this whole content. Since I said this content is equal to the post data, and once all the operation is done, which we will be fetching the email and name, and we are again appending it with this content. Now we need to write the HTML. So we have since we have bootstrap button, it's btn class button and btn success get author info, and we need a container. Inside container, let's have a table with table class and table hyphen bordered, and it's a static HTML. You don't have to look much. We have table data, then we have table its name and email, and in the table body let's have our table row and table data. Here we'll be displaying name, here we'll be displaying email. So since it's HTML, we need to echo it this variable, and this is for email. Now let's just see after activation whether we are able to instead of success, let's just change this to primary. Now after refreshing, you don't see any values. So after activating, if the plugin has no error, you will see the button in blue, show author. The plugin is activated, and let's just refresh this. There's a error in the function. Actually it's in the loop, not as in loop, and again seems to be a spelling mistake. Bootstrap is a string that we need to pass, and we have not returned anything. We need to return this content. Actually return, and here you go. Let's just surround this. Since it's an bootstrap, we can have text center div, as inside we have a button, and since there is no JS, table row, table data, it can be th, oh actually that's a problem here. It should be table row itself, and here it's th. Now you'll get it. So now we need to check whether the bootstrap class is applied, bootstrap table is applied, and let's see by adding a class text hyphen danger. Yes, see, bootstrap is working. Now let's see our CSS is working or not. So for that, let's have table data t head table row. Let's just add background color as blue for convenient so that we can see. Yes, our CSS is also getting applied. Now let's work on the JS. So what I need to do is, when the document is completely loaded, DOM content loaded, we need to execute a function. When the document is completely loaded, just execute a function, and let's just give the button an ID btn, and for the table ID as table, and by default let this be display none. So by default it is going to be display none. So with this we'll be displaying it. Now we'll get the variable, we'll get the element, HTML element, document.query selector here with the ID button, and then we have table, and when we click on a button, so before that, if there is button and table exists on the current page, then add a event listener which is click, and what we need to do is, when I click on this, I want this table to have a style. Let's say block for just testing purpose. If I click on get author, I think there is an error. Let's just check in the console. So if it's loaded, then just give an alert saying help. Yes, it's working. When I click on the button, it should say hello. Yes, again it's working. Let's just have this very const. I think it's working. As I click over here, you can see, but as I click again, it's not getting toggled. So we need to have a ternary operator. So if the table has a style of display, let's say none, which is true right now, then if it is none, make it block, or else again make it none. Now you could see the toggle effect. Now it's display none, it's block. Now it's block, it's display none, block, none, and that's it. And who is the author now? The author is actually admin. Let me just log out and get back to the admin as UI monk. So let's get back to the dashboard as UI monk, and let me just create another post, and let me just check whether I am the UI monk post. This is the second post, and some random value. Just get this post published, and as I click on the view post, it should take me to the particular post, and I want to know who this author is, so I'll click it. It says UI monk, and this is the UI monk email address, and previously it was created by admin. This post is created by admin, and the post which we have created is created by user UI monk. That's all for today. Today we have seen how to sequentially load CSS into our plugin, and also we have added our JS. So this is episode number 3, and we are slightly moving in an advanced way of creating a advanced WordPress plugin. Meet you tomorrow with another tutorial. Thank you for listening.